Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Tuesday. Blessed Shrove Tuesday, Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, Carnival, Pancake Day, whatever name you have for it. The last day of the ordinary time in the modern calendar. The last day of Septuagesima in the traditional calendar, as we prepare to enter into the season of Lent tomorrow with Ash Wednesday, a very, very special day indeed. And so I hope that whatever it is that you're celebrating, it has been a good one. You've been able to have the last of the meats before entering into the season of fasting and abstinence, whatever path you are choosing to follow, whether the bare minimum of what the church requires or something a little bit more rigorous. And more importantly, welcome to episode 482 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight, oh man, the Super Bowl happened this weekend. Boy, howdy. There were some trailers for movies, and let's just say some of them look good, some of them not so much. So we obviously have some stuff to talk about from that. I've not seen every single trailer that came out at the Super Bowl because I wasn't watching the Super Bowl. I watched it at the very end just to see what happened, to be able to kind of just know what the deal was, and it seemed like it was an interesting game, tied until the very end, going into overtime and such. Happy to hear that they have finally changed those silly rules that allows for two possessions. I always thought it was silly when I used to actually watch it, used to actually care back in the day. But ultimately, the ending that happened that everyone thought would happen did. And Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl, everybody. But luckily, we're not going to be focusing as much on that, but more so about the movie trailers, because, again, there's a couple of good ones out there. Also, tonight on the show, talking about some box office talk, as the box office has been dead. It's dead, Jim. One of the worst weekends this past weekend in years, which is saying quite a bit because the box office has been pretty bad for a very long time now. Let's just say Argyle is not moving the needle, and it looks like Madame Web, whatever way you want to say it, is not going to move the needle either. A film I have just no interest in seeing. And also One Love, the Bob Marley story, or Bob Marley, a One Love, whatever the story is, randomly coming out as well. And it just continues to remind me how silly our culture has become when the priorities of this corporate holiday, right, which used to be an actual holy day of the church, being the Feast of St. Valentine. Very interesting story of the martyrdom of Valentine, and also just some of the other information that we do have about him that has been preserved through history. But no, instead, we're going to commercialize it, put out movies that people just don't have an interest in watching. I'm sure everyone wants to bring their date to go see Madame Web on St. Valentine's Day. But more importantly, it's Ash Wednesday tomorrow, and that is, again, another reminder of just how bad our culture has gotten. The fact that everything is all about Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day. It's like Feast of St. Valentine, thank you very much. And more importantly, Lent? Ash Wednesday, anybody? But I digress. Also, talking a little bit about Shrove Tuesday as we go along as well. Before getting further, please make sure you smash that like button, line up that fire button on Odyssey, and smash the Rumble button as well. I actually don't know if Rumble is working tonight because as I was trying to open up the page, it was loading like molasses, like going so slowly. And then when I sent a message out before the stream started, or at the very beginning with the intro playing, all the messages went out to different platforms with the little chat highlighter that I use, except for Rumble. So looks like, okay, it just pulled my screen back up, and it looks like Kincaid Rumsky's message has come through Rumble. So if there's any issues on Rumble, I don't know what to tell you. I do not know what to tell you, my friend. I wish that I could help, but I'm afraid I typically can't. That reminds me, because the one thing I do know how to help on is when there are issues over on Odyssey. So let me actually just double check and make sure the sound's coming through. Perfect. It's coming through over there. So shout out to anyone who will eventually be watching over there. Let's go ahead and say hello to the people in the chat, though. I've vamped long enough. First, we got Kimberly G. Kimberly G. What's going on? Kimberly G. Killian Shadowcat says, howdy, Odin, mods, and everybody. Happy Fat Tuesday. Blessed Shrove Tuesday to you as well. Joey Horn in the chat. What's going on, good sir? Thanks for being here. We got Rob D in the chat. JS Pena says, ahoy. Oh, wait to you. By the way, I know that there were chats from earlier than this. Unfortunately, because of just the craziness of the schedule of having two young kids and school and everything else, today was just not a good day as far as time, so I was not able to get my chat set up as early as I like. Also, for some reason, the alerts box is malfunctioning. It's signed into a different account, so I hope to be able. Excuse me. I hope to be able to figure that out over the course of the stream. And if I'm able to, then it should be okay. But if not, please know I will do everything within my power. It's one of those things where every time it signs you out, you always forget which account you use, which account is going to give you the most up-to-date alerts. It's how I get my notifications on like Super Chats and Streamlabs chats, Streamlabs donations, and other things like that. So I will hope to get this up and running. It looks like I finally did. What do you know? That's just the way it goes sometimes. On the fly. What do you know? Orange Hat Reviews, or rather, sorry, the man with the orange hat. I'm sorry to dead name you like that, good sir, but the man with the orange hat says, "Welcome to Asgard. Behave or I will ban you." Spamming. Keep the language PG-13. Yes, 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 yes. Please keep it family friendly. We like keeping things family friendly here over at OMB Reviews, including our chat. That's why one of the best chats in the business. We got Icthulu. What is going on? Happy Tuesday. And the great people in the chat. Absolutely. Best people. Best community in the chat, for sure. Forever Sci-Fi, what is going on? Joey Horn, happy Father's Day Tuesday to all. What? What in the world is that supposed to mean, Joey Horn? I'm very, very confused by that statement. All right, we got Super Anime Gamer saying, "Hey, what is up, my dude? What is up, Super Anime Gamer? What is going on? Thanks for being here." As the man with the orange hat says, make sure you put @Odin at the very beginning of your comment, @Odin. It lets me know that you're trying to get my attention. Unless you're watching on Odyssey, in which case just put the name Odin, and that will also suffice. Joey Horn, happy Fat Tuesday to all. Happy Blessed Shrove Tuesday to you as well. Forever Sci-Fi, happy Jelly Donut Day. Yeah, again, there's so many different things that people have as far as traditions. It's always fun explaining that to students as well, just because so many of them just don't know. And maybe y'all don't know this either, but y'all know that the whole premise of Carnival, right, of Carnival, literally means carne, meat, val, essentially a goodbye. So the whole point of Carnival is to say goodbye to meat, because back in the old days, before our society got very soft, there used to actually be a lot more of a rigorous practice of fasting and abstinence during the entire season of Lent. People would abstain from meat from the entire season, not just on the Fridays or of Lent and on Ash Wednesday like it is now. And then you would also have people fasting every single day, too. In fact, in the old school, you went essentially vegan the entire season of Lent, which is the whole reason. That's why it's just so frustrating, because all the traditions that we have for Mardi Gras, right, for Pancake Day, Shrove Tuesday, the only reason why they exist is because of the church. It's because of Lent, right? Why Pancake Day? Because as you're about to enter into Lent, what do? You get rid of the things that are going to go bad over that 40 days that you're going to be fasting from. So that would include milk, eggs. Oh, what can you do with milk and eggs? A little bit of flour. You can make pancakes, right? And this is where king cakes find their origins as well, obviously in connection with the Feast of Epiphany, of King's Day, Three Kings Day. And again, it always frustrates me whenever it's like, man, how much our culture has lost as far as these basic Christian roots to these different days, right? Because now what does Mardi Gras become? It's just become this day of debauchery, right? And it's been that way for such a long time, and it's just sad because we kind of miss out on the whole point of everything. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad. The man with the orange hat is correct. I do sometimes fall about 20 to 40 minutes behind in the chats because I do like to try to read as many chats as I can. We got Laura, the Mother Major General story. Also, feel like it's been a long time since I've been on a stream because things have been a little hectic. I think last week was Baby Thor was sick. I forget if it was Baby Thor was sick or I was sick. Because I know, like, one week my voice just couldn't take it, and then Baby Thor got sick, and it was just it was awful. He's fine now, everything's great, but yeah, it was a crazy last couple weeks. I don't even know if I've talked to y'all since Megacon. Like, honestly, I don't think I have. The time is such a weird thing for me, right? Because that whole weekend is a bit of a blur, right? For those who don't know, I went to Megacon in Orlando, literally drove in right after school on Friday, got in around 10 p.m. at night or so, and then got up the next day, all day at the con. Awesome. I got to meet Valiant Renegade. Shout out to Valiant Renegade, my brother. from New Orleans, from the New Orleans area. It was just amazing to be able to meet him in person, to have conversations with him. I was able to buy him breakfast. He got me later on by buying me dinner. Thank you again for the pizza, good sir. And it was a lot of fun. It was just so much fun. But obviously on my feet all day, talking with people, which was great. Wearing a backpack, which was heavier than it probably should have been because I overpack for a lot of these things. And so by the end of the night, my shoulders were just killing me because I had just been standing for so long and I had been, wearing the backpack. But it was amazing meeting so many amazing people. And again, I really don't think I have actually talked to y'all since the Megacon. And it was just such an amazing experience, like it always is. And, even though the drive is crazy, I always am just so humbled because I think back to the first meetup I ever did. And some of y'all who've been here for a while might remember this because I believe this was back in 2018, maybe 2019, where there was the Chicago Star Wars celebration. And I remember I flew up to Chicago to be able to do some work with Geeks and Gamers. And it was so overwhelming because I struggle with social anxiety. And I was going to a place that I had never been. I was going to meet people, many of whom I had never met before, except just interactions online. And it was really intense. And it's just an awesome thing to now kind of look back at that and think how much has changed, right? I'm just so much more comfortable. And I think it's because of just meeting so many amazing people. So if you're one of the persons that I was able to talk to in Orlando, again, thank you so much for coming and for talking with me. And that's why I keep doing it, because it's just, again, it's so much fun. It makes me look forward to things like, who knows? I think nothing's official yet for Dallas, but I think that would be the next major one that I would be able to go to. Obviously, this year, it's going to be a little trickier because obviously having little baby Sif this year, little baby girl who's 4 months, crazy that she's getting like 9 days, I think, from being 5 months. It's just it's so crazy how much time has flown by. She's almost half a year to think of it, right? So again, 5 months, not too far away from 6 months, and that would be half a year, which is so crazy, but obviously so very blessed by her and just by this growth in our family. So my hope is that I would be able to make that work, but it does make me excited. Basically, going back to it, things like Orlando Megacon really do, I think, inspire me. It makes me want to keep doing the things that I'm doing. And I've mentioned this several times, over the years, that I do this because it's fun. And as soon as it stops being fun, that's when I walk away. And it was really cool being able to connect with people. And again, shout out to Valiant Renegade, because seriously, we have so much more in common, and you kind of figure that out when you actually meet someone in person. And so, yeah, shout out to you, good sir. All right, Fear of FEMA in the chat. Happy Tuesday. Hope you all got some Poxki. I've heard of that before. I don't think I've ever had it. Zaid Manzani, what is going on? Welcome back. We got Master of Gaming in the chat also. Hey, to you. Thank you very much for being here. Let us see. Rob D, I watched exactly 0 seconds of the Super Bowl. Hey, kudos to you, man. I almost decided to not watch it. Had it been a blowout, there's no way I would have turned it on. But I was like, okay, it's a 16-16 game. That's interesting. Would really love to see, the Chiefs just completely, implode for no other reason than because I think it almost felt like the world was against the Chiefs just because of all of the nonsense that is the whole Taylor Swift narrative that was being pushed nonstop. But unfortunately, that just was not the case. Kagan Rumsky, who is over on Rumble, what's going on, good sir, says, did you root for the Swifties? Heck no. You know I'm about as anti-Swifty as you can possibly get. Shout out to them, though. Again, I got to give credit where credit is due, okay? Taylor Swift made bank off of her deal with AMC for the theatrical version of her concert. Then she convinces Disney to spend $75 million, reportedly, on the rights to distribute said film on Disney+. It shows a couple of things. One, how desperate Disney is, but also just how stupid they are. They just throw money away. And I'm not saying that might not be worth the money, because Taylor Swift does bring a lot of people. But I looked to the theatrical experience, and the people that went to go see that were the hardcore Swifties. And it made sense for them to go see it in a theater because it is as close as you can kind of get to a stadium experience, right? Going with your friends and the loud music and everything. I don't know how much of that's going to translate on Disney+. and again, maybe I'm wrong. If you're a Swiftie, please let me know. If you're a Swiftie, tell me, are you compelled to, if you don't have Disney Plus, buy it just so that you can watch the concert again and again and again on Disney Plus, on streaming, on your computer, on home TV? It just, I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense to me, right? That it would be of a even somewhat similar experience as either being there live in concert, or at least, if you can't be there live, watching it on the big screen in a theater. Again, that makes a little bit more sense to me. So it'll be interesting to see whether they are actually able to get new subscribers just from that alone. I don't see it. Maybe I'll have to talk to some Swifties, get some Swifties input on this to find out what exactly the deal is. But again, got to give credit to Taylor Swift for being able to essentially swindle millions of dollars out of Disney, especially. Let's see. Ambrose Chamberpot at 732 says, the one review I heard on Madam Web was not good at all. Yeah, I watched my go-to reviewer, other than Critical Drinker, who is amazing, of course, is going to be Jeremy Johns. He to me is just one of the more consistent reviewers, is much more of an everyday kind of guy versus the this elitist snobbery that you find from so many other reviewers. And he gave it a dog crap rating, his lowest rating. Which I had suspected was a good possibility, but the fact that was the score that it received is just kind of amazing, and it just does not bode well for the film. I mean, that movie was already not projected to do all that well, and yet here we are now, where the film will probably end up doing so much worse than what had been initially anticipated. I wonder, actually, because of the earlier release, I assume then we might have to look to see if they have any weekend forecasting. So because of the early release, there is no early forecasting yet on any of that front. But before then, the long-range forecasting for Madam Web was a 3-day opening. Interestingly, that they were doing this 3-day opening, even though they have the release date of the 14th, saying a $15 to $24 million. Now, something tells me that that's probably going to end up being the 5-day, is 15 to 24. But that's awful. Their total domestic range projections was 42 to 78 million. Good grief, man. And Madam Web costs at least 100 million. Okay, reportedly 80 million. Okay, sure. Still, you're not making that money back making 42 to 78 million domestically, unless you're making a huge amount of money, at least double that amount in the overseas market, which you just not likely going to see anytime soon. But oh boy, get ready, everybody. Keely Chow at 732 says, it's deader than the Cowboys' chances of winning another Super Bowl. Dang, never say never. All right. If the Saints can win one Super Bowl, and they'll never let that go, by the way, Champion Square exists, all that stuff because of one Super Bowl. I mean, Cowboys got a chance. Never say never, man. All right. Forever Sci-Fi, who's a member, says, I didn't bother watching the Swiftie Bowl once my Lions had been knocked out. I mean, I honestly would have probably watched the entire game had it been Lions-Ravens was one of the potential outcomes. That would have been interesting to me, right? That would have been okay. Right? We have two teams that I don't believe had won in quite a long time, if ever, in the case of the Lions. Again, my knowledge of football is not vast. But instead, you get, great, a team that has won several championships, or at the very least has gone to several Super Bowls, especially in the last 10, 15 years. And then another team that it's like, okay, I'm just kind of tired of these same old teams the entire time, Yeah, Kimberly G, I saw that review. Jeremy Johns did indeed give it a dog crap rating. Keely Chow, it's deader than, okay, saw that one. I don't know if that was a repeat by accident or what. Orange Hat says, the Marvel story that I am writing is guaranteed to be more interesting than the current phase of the MCU. Yeah, I saw that dude, Orange Hat, posting over on Criticalist. There is a book club over there, and I saw that you had posted the story for that, or at least what you've worked on so far. I just don't have a lot of time to be able to read it myself, but hey, man, kudos to you. And that's what we got to do, right? It's not just about calling out the nonsense, being critical of it. That's important. But also, if we have the time and if we have the capacity to create something, absolutely, right, we should do that. That's why it's awesome what Critical Drinker is doing, making his short film and trying to kind of enter into that space. I think there's a lot of potential there, to the Epic verse, right, to Josiah, Epic Mike, and so many others that are just, again, putting their money where their mouth is, trying to actually create films, create culture. The trailer that dropped, that Epic Mike, I believe he's the director of, looked really cool. Right. And I'm saying that obviously I'm a member of Geeks and Gamers, and so there's a lot of, intertwined and interconnectedness there. But I say that as someone who, if it's not good, I'm going to be honest about it. I'm the kind of person where when I went to go see theater productions when I was younger and it was not good, if I had a friend that was in the play and they asked me what I thought about it, I would tell them, yeah, I'm going to be honest, it wasn't very good. That's just the kind of person. It's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's not just because I'm trying to be a jerk. It's because I want to be honest. Now, I'm not going to, tear them apart in such a way that it's uncharitable, but at the same time, we got to be straightforward. Oh man, okay, I got to read this. So 1 minute ago, surprise mustard surprise mustard attack. Thank you for the $5 donation via Streamlabs. Let me go ahead and refresh that so I can play again. Oh, man. He says, hey, Odin, it's actually Mo Zamboni. Thanks for taking so much time to give me so many great tips on starting to stream and talking about Christianity and my walk. Odin is a real one, folks. Hashtag brothers in mustard, dude. Oh, man. Mo Zamboni, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I also saw that you had subscribed earlier, too. Yeah, man. Hopefully the advice helped. I'm someone where I'm a normal person. I'm a normal guy. And so, obviously, I have some experience just having done this for many years. And so, I try to give whatever advice I can. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be good or great or anything like that. But, yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming out to Megacon and for talking with me, man. And absolutely. Just again, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you for that Streamlabs donation, man. And so, yeah, I don't know how much of it has been explained or not. I think I'd put this on social media. But at Megacon, I was talking with, shout out to Blaine from Criticalist. Blaine from Criticalist came down, and man, first let me tell that story. So Blaine, who is the CEO of Criticalist, and as you all know, I'm a big fan. I'm a user on that platform. I'm not sponsored by them. I just really love the platform. And I've started to become friends with Blaine and some of the others on there. And we had been in talks and communications about how I was going to Megacon. He had thought about it. And so he decides, I think the week or 2 weeks before, that he's going to go ahead and go down, try to, meet some people, try to, do everything he can to, get the word out on Criticalist. Because again, he firmly believes in it. And that's why I'm just so supportive of what he's doing. So when he first got there, because he got there, I think the day before I did, the entire day on Friday when I'm driving up, I'm getting these messages because he has food poisoning. So he gets to Orlando, gets food poisoning, is out for the entire day. And the whole time he's like, look, I can't even get out of my bed to walk across the room to do anything. I just want to be well so that on Saturday when he went to Megacon, he would be okay. So luckily he got a lot of rest. He was able to wake up and feel so much better. So he was able to meet me over at Megacon, and we were able to have conversations, meet people, things like that. So we're next to each other. Mo Zamboni, again, also was there too. And there was a lot of other people. Again, I can't remember everybody, and I'm terrible with names. I think I was honest about that too when I was there. And as we're talking, right, first off, we're next to these trash cans, because the one thing about Megacon that drives me nuts is that it almost feels, and honestly feels like they oversell. And I know that's kind of a part of cons and stuff, but I don't know. There's okay, the con is packed because there's a lot of people there, and then there's, okay, we're trapped like sardines in here, and it's uncomfortably packed. And it's not like they don't have extra space that they could open this up and let it breathe a little bit, maybe even get more tickets sold because, they want to actually be able to provide some comfort. I don't know. It's just one of those things that you'd kind of wish that they had been able to pick up. But anyway, we're next to these trash cans because it's one of the only places that we can actually stand and talk without being in the way of this giant traffic. We're right across from the Rippaverse booth. Shout out to Rippaverse. They had an amazing con. I mean, they had a line at their booth every single day that I was there, and just, it was nonstop. It was never ending. Whether it was the Rippaverse comics team being there, whether it was the other visitors, like, again, Geeks and Gamers was there for a while with Jeremy. Gary Nerdrotic was there, and Star Wars Theory was there too, borrowing it. And obviously the con just didn't recognize and know how big it was going to be. And so hopefully in the future, they're able to accommodate that. But we're across from that panel and we're just talking, right? We're just, having conversations. And all of a sudden and it was me and Blaine who kind of make this eye contact, like, what the heck just happened, man? And so we're talking to each other, and all of a sudden I just hear this explosion, like this quick little pop sound. And immediately I'm like, what the heck just happened? Because I felt something wet hit me in the face, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And all of a sudden I realized I'm covered in mustard. And then Blaine says something to the effect of like, yeah, it was a mustard attack. And I was like, wait, my mind quickly said, did someone just like attack us? Like recognize me or the people around us, like just hating Geeks and Gamers or hating like whatever it might be? Turns out, no, it's actually a lot crazier and simpler than that. So there was this woman in one of these electric chairs, moving along, moseying along, and a random mustard packet had been on the ground. And it makes sense. We were next to a trash can, and so there was a random one there that was in the walkway. She rolled over it, and because she rolled over it with her electric chair, it caused the pressure build up in the packet and then blew up. So I'm covered in mustard. Blaine's covered in mustard. Mo Zamboni is covered in a little bit of mustard too. And it was just one of those things where this is just so surreal. Like, how in the heck does this happen? Is this like one of these freak accidents that doesn't make any sense at all? It's one of those things I don't think could ever be repeated the way that it was. But anyway, yeah. So thank you very much, Surprise Mustard Attack, because it was so crazy. I honestly cannot believe. For a moment, I think I mentioned this, I felt like Robin Williams' character in Death to Smoochie, when he's being transported out because it just was discovered that he had tried to set up Smoochie and everything like that, and so he's just yelling. He's basically like, have you ever been connected with Nazis? Da, 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 da. And then at one point someone throws an egg at him. He's like, I've been shot. It's like, that's how I felt. I was like, what the heck just happened to me? Oh man, crazy times. Let's see. Morak94, what's going on? Hanging out over on Rumble at 7:34. Stream looks to be working here. Good. See, Joey Horn says, autocorrect, sorry. You better be sorry. King Cake Rumsky? You could be King Cake Rumsky today. That is definitely the case. By the way, I had some amazing king cake today at work. And yeah, it's not New Orleans. It's not, the fresh stuff, the stuff that I prefer, but it's good. Mr. Roy, what's going on, good sir? Thanks for being a member on the channel, of course. One of my chosen of Valhalla. Keely Chow with the pizza emotes. What's up? Forever Sci-Fi. Paski is just Polish for donuts. I thought that there might be the case. When I said, I was like, I bet I'm going to regret saying, oh yeah, I've always heard about that, but never tried it. Unless you're going for a traditional filling like prune or plum jam, you're just overpaying for what's a jelly donut any other day. Ah, gotcha. Well, as one that doesn't eat jelly donuts, something tells me that if it was like an authentic Paski, maybe I would try it. I feel like there's a little bit of a difference there. Guy. Oh, it's this guy. I feel like I'm just going to call you this guy. How do you feel about the Dune popcorn bucket? I think it was ill-conceived, but hilarious. Ill-conceived, but hilarious. I know that Chris Gore is quite excited. I think he has one, or he has gotten access to one, or whatever it might be. But yeah. Not really my cup of tea, but my wife and I recently watched Dune Part 1 because she had never seen it before, right? The Denis Villeneuve one, because she had read the audiobook. I just finished the audiobook actually for the first time on my way back from Orlando because I'd gotten more than halfway through before Part 1 first came out because I wanted to have some knowledge of the background, and finally was able to finish it on that second long drive back. And it's a book I actually really ended up enjoying quite a bit. And it also made me kind of confirm the biggest issue I have with Dune Part 1 is the fact that they cut off at the weirdest possible place. Because there's such a big thing that happens with the death of Jameis. And I don't feel like I'm spoiling much of anything because, again, it's a story that's been out for a very long time. And the movie has been out for a long time, too, at this point. Obviously, this is the older version, too. But when Jameis dies, there's a whole ceremony, right, about trying to preserve his water, right? Water is such a big deal. And to end it there, where instead of going straight to be like, we got to get his water, It's instead, oh, no, we're just going to slowly travel along, keep moving along until we get back to the CH and just kind of take our time with it. It's like, no, that's not how that works. So that's still my frustration is I do think it's a terrible place for them to have cut off the story. But they also, of course, did, I think, spend way too much time on certain elements. If they were going to try to have a cutoff point, they would have needed to cut some things. So honestly, I wish that they had just done a miniseries, make 4 or 5 episodes, because then they could have told essentially the whole story and actually had good, cutoffs leading from one thing to the next. Anyway, Hardwick, what's going on? Hardwick says, did you catch the con crud? No, I caught the daycare crud. So yeah, I actually surprisingly did not get sick from that. I actually got sick from my kids, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because kids get everything, and then we get them from the kids. And so that's why when I got back, I had no voice, and that was just from all the talking. But then in addition to that, when I got back, I must have caught it when I got back, or I had caught it before, and it just didn't start manifesting until I got back when I started losing my voice. Because then all of a sudden it was like, okay, now I'm getting mucusy and essentially a cold, but nothing too crazy. My voice was just awful last week. I think that was the main reason why. See, King of Rumsey says, Rumble has added drop-down list on the web to @ people in the chat. Ooh, okay. Very nice. I thought that would always be a thing, but I guess not. Master Gaming says, Odin, Mark Wahlberg did a commercial for the Super Bowl for this religious app. Yeah, that's called Hallow, and it's actually a very good meditation app. I have some issues with it personally, just because, one, I don't like the translation of scripture that's used in the app specifically, but also it honestly feels often that they are trying too hard to commercialize. So what I mean by that is they're trying to get people like Mark Wahlberg, who, again, I think it's great that he is a open and devout Catholic and very open about his faith, but it's you don't want celebrity to be how you market your prayer and meditation app, right? Because prayer is best done away from a phone, away from technology, right? And so when you are focusing it in that way, it I think just makes it feel a little bit inauthentic. It makes it feel more like a cash grab than anything else, because you're like, oh yeah, look at all these amazing stars we brought in. They did this for, I think it was Advent, where they actually got Liam Neeson to come in and do some voice, and that caused some controversy because Liam Neeson, even though he's Catholic, or at the very least, has described himself as Catholic in the past, was a huge proponent of the change in law in Ireland to enshrine abortion rights, which is the very antithesis of the faith. And so, for him to be brought in, obviously he's not being brought in to teach anything, but still there is that, okay, yeah, but he's now doing prayer for a Catholic app, and so you're praying with him, but you're praying with him with the knowing and the knowledge that he is very much supportive of something that's intrinsically evil and immoral. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Dan Crane says, Hail Odin and the family of Odin. God bless all in the OMB Fellowship. Yes, thank you, Dan Crane. And also, thank you very much for being a member for 21 months in a row. Shout out to you. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington says, Odin, Shrove Tuesday. Dang right. Dang right. It's all about being shriven. Shrove tied with Queen Quagesima, my favorite naming of Sundays. So the 50 days, it just means like the fifth cent of 10 days, because some people get in it's not exactly 50 days. That's not the point. But anyway, this past Sunday was Queen Quagesima in the traditional calendar. And again, I go to the traditional Latin Mass. That's my jam. And so the Sunday's Mass was called Queen Quagesima Sunday, which just refers to being 50 days prior to the death, resurrection of Christ. And obviously getting prepared for Lent, for Easter. And so it's got a great name already. But then there's also something called Shrove Tide, which begins on Sunday. And so there's some in tradition you see this past Sunday also being called Shrove Sunday, and then having Shrove Monday, Shrove Tuesday. And the whole mindset is to be shriven means to be cleansed, specifically to be cleansed of sin. And so those were 3 days where the focus was, okay, if you have not gone to confession, now is the time to go. So that way when you enter into Lent, you can go in fresh, clean. You can go in, right, spiritually ready to take on the different challenges that Lent brings on. Keely Chow, they grow up so fast. Seriously, it's kind of crazy. Again, Dan Crane, thank you for being a member for 21 months. Steven, I say, what do you usually do for Fat Tuesday? You happen to eat donuts or pizza before Lent starts? Yeah, so I don't have any specific tradition itself. Mostly it's the only thing that I do for Mardi Gras, really, because obviously I'm born and raised in New Orleans. And so I do king cake because obviously king cake's just delicious. But other than that, yeah, I actually, for Fat Tuesday, my tradition the last several years has actually just been to try to focus it as Shrove Tuesday. And I try to educate, honestly. It's kind of those passions that I have. I think it's so important for us to be like, yeah, obviously Mardi Gras exists, but do you know why it exists? Do you know why this has become what it has? And just how far gone so many people are, right? Because it's never been meant to be a day of excess. Gluttony is still sinful. So this is not a day that you can just be gluttonous all you want. No, it's a day that you come together. You're supposed to come together with friends, with family, and just to enjoy the things that you are about to be giving up for 40 days, right? You're about to be giving up for the season of Lent when we walk together with Christ into the desert as he did and fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And, that's the whole purpose of Lent, the whole purpose of Mardi Gras. And I mentioned before about how in the old days when you would essentially go vegan for Lent, that's why you would get rid of your milk and your eggs. And so that's why you would make pancakes. You would make donuts. You would make all these different, types of pastries that need that stuff. But yeah, so that's really become my tradition and my passion is just talking about kind of like what the purpose of the holiday is and why it's just fallen so far. I'm very much looking forward to Lent. I still need to, after the stream tonight, I'll probably have to sit down and just finally like calm my mind and say, okay, I already have an idea. I already know what I'm doing. But sometimes I'm the kind of person I need to write down the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm going to be focusing on. The big thing for me is changing in diet. I won't go into too many specifics because I'm not really supposed to be like, hey, by the way, look at all the great things I'm going to be doing for Lent. But obviously, there's going to be a level of fasting and abstaining from meats and stuff. But just to have it written down is, I think, a very good way of handling it. Let's see. Bruce at 743 says, if any of them could make the Knoxville con, that would be workable for me to be attending. Yeah, I mean, when is Knoxville at con? Actually, before you even mention it, let me see. Knoxville. I will tell you right now, I highly doubt any of them will go. And you have to think of it from this perspective. So most of them are going to Las Vegas, which is coming up in the next couple weeks, I think. We're not too far away from Las Vegas, I think. So that's a big one for them. And so since pretty much everyone did Orlando, and now everyone's going to be doing Las Vegas, and after that, typically in June, our recent tradition the last few years has been to do Dallas. Something tells me that any addition of cons probably just won't be feasible for most. It's something where I might, let's see, it's the weekend of March 9th and 10th. Let's see. The only issue with that one for me would simply be March 10th is the day the Raven Awards are. Shout out to the Ravens. Gary Bandersnatch with Worthington. I know that you're in the chat right now. He is my biggest supporter of the Ravens. I always appreciate him. The voting is still on, everybody. Voting is still on. Please get your votes in. Cast your votes. Go to OMBReviews.com. Click on the Raven Awards tab. Brings you to the site, to the page. You can find all the nominations. And then there's a little forms link. Click on that. Brings you to the ballot. I'm sure that mods can also post the link to it directly. So that way you don't have to go through that. But again, helpful when you go through the website too. So I wouldn't be able to stay that long for that reason. I would have to basically like go up for a day and then come back for a day. But also that's, again, it's always a little bit trickier because of everything else. Let's see. Oh, wait, never mind. It's in July. Wait a minute. Why was it saying before Fanboy Expo? See, this is saying March 9th and 10th. That's weird. But then when I click on the event, it says July 12th through 14th. That might be more feasible because that'll be summertime for me. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows? But let's see who is attending. Who is attending? I'll have to look at that later. But anyway, I'm sure that, Bruce, you're going to be telling me in the chat because that tends to be how it goes with me. I get distracted by things, and it's like, don't be distracted. We'll tell you. We will give you the answer. Let's see. Guy, or as I now want to call him, Guy. Guy says, how do you feel about the Deadpool 3 trailer? I thought the Deadpool 3 trailer was interesting. The thing is with that one, I love Ryan Reynolds. I think he's hilarious. I think having him and Hugh Jackman on screen together will be electric. I think that it will be very effective. I think that it will be well done. However, I was immediately thrown out of the trailer when the TVA got brought up, which was essentially in the very beginning. So for those that have not seen the trailer, what they have done, and this is completely, I imagine, on behalf of Kevin Feige, on behalf of the entire Disney cohort that now has influence over Deadpool, as beforehand it was all Fox. And what we've gotten from that is, okay, we're now going to use Deadpool 3 as our jumping off point where we can tie in Disney Plus shows to the movie, because that's the whole TVA subplot, right? Is from Loki. And so that just kind of just was like a sour taste in my mouth, because I'm like, look, if this somehow ends up being an idea that Ryan Reynolds had and the writers behind the film had, okay, but I just doubt that is the case. So I'm still intrigued by it, because Ryan Reynolds is the kind of person where he has enough pull in a movie where maybe he will be able to just crap all over it. Because if the movie ends up being crapping over the Disney Plus shows, crapping all over that stuff, okay, that might make it worth it. But if instead it's going to be, there's a couple of mild jokes, but the rest of it is just kind of trying to prop up the TVA and prop up Loki and prop up the Disney machine, no thank you. So let's just say, as optimistic as I was for the movie, my optimism has probably been cut in half because of the TVA subplot. Or I should just say plot, because at this point it seems to be the whole movie. All right, Kelly Chat says, I hope the Chiefs don't have a Sunday night game in 2024 because Sunday nights belong to Carrie Underwood. Orange Hat, who is a member. Thanks for the member chat. He has also been a member for 43 months, dude. Thank you so much. Such a supporter. The man with the orange hat says, Swift claims to be a Christian and that Christian ideals support the murder of babies in the womb. She's more accurately supports anti-Christian values. Exactly. And that's why it always bothers me whenever any of these actors and singers and celebrities try to put on the airs, right, of Christianity, or put on the airs of faith when they are clearly anything but. And the fact that we, again, have gotten so far, and we can see, right, the influence of evil has become so prominent that now there are people who honestly believe that somehow they've been convinced that, oh, I can be a follower of Jesus Christ and then also at the same time support the murder of children. Think of the cognitive dissonance, right? Think about how twisted one's mind has to be to think that that is legitimate. So it's not even that I'm doubting her faith. I just want to be clear, because I think there's a ton of people who somehow have convinced themselves, have allowed themselves to be influenced, not by angelic forces, we'll say that much, to somehow believe that one can be a follower of Jesus Christ and at the same time a supporter of child murder. It just, again, there is no connection between the two. They cannot coexist with one another. And yet here we are, right? So yeah, I agree. It's just kind of crazy to think about how far our society's fallen. See, Forever Sci-Fi says, Swifties can't afford Disney Plus. They blew all their money on the concert tickets and then on the tickets themselves. Because remember, there was a special sales going on for the movie tickets. It was something where they were only showing it on most weeks. It was only between Thursday and Sunday that the showings were. I think there was a couple of exceptions because of like holidays and stuff. And then the tickets were about, somewhere between $17, $15, and $20, depending on your region. And it was like a standard flat rate. Kind of like a concert ticket. So yeah, she made a bank off of that with the deal she had. Prince Green, who's a member, says, I'm not a Swiftie, but the Queen Rock Montreal concert I saw recently would have been nowhere near as good at home as opposed to IMAX. Yeah, exactly, right? And I'm not a big concert person myself, but I know the first thing you do for concert, for most people, is going to be in person, of course. The next tier after that would be watching it live with either a theater where you have the big sound, the big image, or your own personal home studio where you have that. But let's be honest, most people don't. I doubt many Swifties have an entire home theater just so that they can eventually watch Taylor Swift concert movies. I just don't think that is going to be the case. All right. Let's see. Hardwick says there's a theory that Taylor Swift's box office, Super Bowl, etc. are all rigged to make her look more popular than she is, to pull a psyop that her endorsement can swing the 2024 election. Yeah, I don't really buy into the whole psyop thing. I know it's kind of being pushed. Do I think that there are political factions using her for their own gain? Yes. I think that's pretty obvious and apparent. You look at some of the people posting support for the Chiefs, for instance. I think it was actually an official Democrat like Twitter handle had mentioned something, and it was funny because I think they actually got some of their information wrong. Like they were shouting out someone specific, and then it turns out, oh, they don't even play for the team that you think that they play for. It's like that, I think, is the case. I think that they're trying to LARP basically as being football fans, things like that, and Taylor Swift fans too, trying to make that connection. Do I think that it's a massive psyop though to be like, oh man, we're gonna fake her box office numbers, we're gonna prop her up all the time with the Super Bowl and everything like that to have the refs call the. I mean, look, I think that there is a lot of evidence to suggest that these refs have made bad calls. But here's the thing: refs always make bad calls. This is not new. Every single game, if your team is losing, you're gonna find bad calls. There's always missed calls. And so, again, to say that it's a whole production to try to get specifically that for the endorsement, just because someone believes that can happen does not mean that does actually happen. So, anyway. See, JJ52. What's up, JJ? Howdy, howdy, howdy. Steven, I say happy Ash Wednesday for tomorrow. Absolutely. Blessed Shrove Tuesday in our preparations. Decide what you plan to give it up for 40 days. Yes, I have. I've again pretty much doing what I did last year, because last year it was rigorous enough to where I, was obviously, and this is the thing you always want to be careful of with Lent. You don't want to make it so much about you. You want to make it so much about like trying to make yourself suffer, because there's a lot of problems that can arise with that. But you want to make it so that it's tough. It's against your normal routine. It forces you to actually start to think about what you're eating, when you're eating, things like that. At least that's something that I know I myself can handle. Not everyone can handle that. But then at the same time, have it be something that can also benefit you spiritually too. So I'm kind of doing something similar to that. What I will say is as far as things generally giving up, and this is something that a lot of people do, any sweets. So no ice cream during Lent. So my ice cream will have to wait. But it also goes for anything else other than that too. Let's see. Guy says, I think we are seeing the decline of movie theaters. Showcase cinemas are closing all their movies in Queens. Well, we've been seeing the decline of movie theaters for a long time. I mean, COVID, I think, was just something that kind of helped to speed that process along, unfortunately. But here's the thing. We have enough interest in films where I do think that it's going to be a long time before you have theaters just downright close altogether. I do think that AMC is going to have some kind of awakening soon, because I've been following their stock price. I am a stockholder in AMC. I was hoping that it would grow as movies were coming back. It didn't happen. Again, I'm not a financial expert, so don't follow me there. Honestly, it's because I only got involved in stocks, and I have some money in like Bitcoin, Ethereum. That was more for lulz, to be honest. It's like, okay, I have this extra money. You never want to go in with like serious investments, for me at least. Again, I'm not a financial expert. Don't take my advice on this. But if you have extra cash, it's like, well, why not just try it? So I have Dogecoin, for instance. I got Ethereum, Bitcoin. But then I also have AMC stock too, and for that one, it's been a complete loss, because the value has been cut like in half since I first bought in. But because of that, because now it's at like $4 or $5 for the stock, I can't see how they're able to sustain at this point. Let's see. Prince Green says, "Could Madame Web be this year's Expendables box office wise?" Yes. I think the difference there is that Expendables, I believe, cost a lot more, if memory serves If memory serves, I believe Expendables cost more. But let me see. Let me pull up my chart. So not much more. Expendables cost $100 million. This was as of the reported budgets, months ago, obviously, when the film came out in 2023. It needed to make roughly $250 to $300 million to break even, and it only ended up making $51 million, $120 plus million in financial losses, and that's without taking into account the smaller take internationally and things like that. But yeah, it was not good. That film opened worldwide to 19 million, and then by 2 weeks had 36 million. So right now, according to the tracking of Box Office Pro, it's looking like Expendables will Madam Web might actually have a better domestic opening than international for Expendables. So it would be one of those things where, yes, maybe, but we still have to wait and see what it makes. Either way, I do think it's still going to be a loss. I think that if we look to a similar budget movie, we'll have to look at the numbers here. The Creator, I know, had a similar budget. So The Creator had a budget of 80 million. So that means you need to make roughly 200-ish million to break even. Let me see here. And so that film opened up worldwide to 32.3. By week 2, had 61 million. And then that film ended up being a loss of around $57 million because it ended around 104 million. So yeah, I think that if it follows that same path and does worse than The Creator, like, to me, The Creator might be the better one, because if it starts trending and tracking below The Creator worldwide, let alone domestically, that's going to be that clear sign of, okay, yeah, this film is donezo. I don't think the film's going to do much of anything right now, but based on the numbers we have available and the reactions we're getting, I don't see the film making it. Master Game says, Odin, I think Bob Marley, One Love will be number 1 this weekend. Another poorly reviewed biopic about a musician, All Eyes on Me, did $26 million opening weekend. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of competition, right? I don't think Madame Web's going to move the needle all that much either. So I think it'll be a battle between the two. But once we get those first numbers, we'll have a better idea. Once we get the Wednesday opening numbers, we'll be able to make some assessments. Steven says, just saw Dune last night in theaters, and I'm sorry, but it was boring for me. What caught your attention to it? Yeah, I mean, I think that, here's the thing, all right? I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve. I'm also a big fan of slow burns, if they're done well. And so I enjoyed it. The cinematography is beautiful. The CGI effects are amazing, especially for how much of a budget the film had. Again, it wasn't a small budgeted movie, but compared to some other much larger budgeted films, the movie looks brilliant. I love the direction by Denis Villeneuve. I thought that the actors were phenomenal. The thing that I think is absolutely worthy of criticism, though, is the pacing and is the story. Because my issue is with the story. It's with what they decided to leave out. It's with what they decided to leave off on, too. So that's why anytime someone criticizes the film as being boring, I think that's a legitimate criticism. I think that is absolutely legitimate. See, Keely Chow says, I was talking about the Texans' chances of winning their first ever Super Bowl. Okay. Dallas Cowboys, though, are not the Texans. I'm very confused by this now. Mo Zamboni, what's going on, brother? Scold, he says. It's 8:22 in the chat. That was at 7:49. As I mentioned, I do fall 20 to 30 minutes behind, sometimes 40 minutes behind in the chats because I try to read them. See, Steven at 751 says, I'm curious, how did you enjoy Halftime Show with Usher? I'm surprised how Gen Z found it boring. I didn't watch it. I'm not an Usher guy, so I have had no desire to watch it at any point. I've heard mixed things about it. Some have said it was good. Some have said it was mediocre. I am like, I don't care. Scott McKenzie, what's going on, brother? Scott McKenzie, thanks for being a member for 20 months in a row. Appreciate you, brother. Steven says, are you going to the Vegas trip with Geeks and Gamers? Nope. So that's in April. Yeah, so here's the issue. Vegas is never going to work for me, ever. And the reason why is because this specific meetup, one, it's in the middle of the week. That's already donezo, right? It's like, for anyone that works full time, how is anyone supposed to make that work unless they're in that area, unless they're in that region, right? So that's just never going to be something that I can make happen. Even if I could make it happen, though, the other caveat, not as big of an issue, but still an issue nonetheless, is the distance. So it's too far for me to drive. Like Dallas is like the furthest that I can go driving, because that's about 10 and a half, 11 hour drive. And I can handle that. Vegas, I think would be 14, 15 plus hours. So that would be like, I would have to split that up into 2 days. I just can't do that. Flights would be expensive because in my area, I'm in a regional airport area. And so my tickets are always going to be a lot more expensive because of that very reason. The biggest problem is the timing. It's the worst timing. And that's what always just drives me crazy, because it's like, look, I understand that this is a great time for y'all. This is a great time for people that do this full time, right? Because y'all can obviously take time off to go travel and stuff. But especially with my, with my job, also having my family too, because that's a lot longer being away. If we're, traveling over multiple days, for instance, it's just never going to happen, at this point. Let's see. Hardwick, what's going on, says, Criticalist seems to me sort of like IMDb's user review section, but with less useful ratings because of the tiny user base. Well, here's the thing. I think that it actually ends up being more useful because, rule of thumb is having more people and having more data creates more accurate numbers. But we know that IMDb has gone through such a politicization where you have people that will go in and just spam the 10-star rating, or will spam a 1-star, half-star rating. Because the fan base, because the user base, I should say, is so low on Criticalist, you actually just have a lot of people that are passionate about film. And so in many ways, the reviews and the ratings are actually a lot more authentic, because you have normies, you have people that are much more attuned to the culture war. You have so many different factions, but because the numbers are so manageable, it actually ends up being a lot more manageable. So yeah, I would disagree on that specific point. I get what you're saying, so no need to explain it, because I get what you're saying about the numbers. But the other reason why Criticalist is better is because it's free speech. I've had reviews be denied on IMDb. I remember I put my review of Barbie there, and they refused to post it. Criticalist is a free speech platform, for one. Not to mention, the review system is retro and just, again, chef's kiss. Mozamboni, what's up, brother? Yes, it was great to meet Blaine. I am keeping in touch with him. Nice guy. He's such a nice guy. Shout out to Blaine. He's awesome. See, Steven says, oh boy, I'm sure you're going to have a blast destroying Madam Web. Everyone roasting the review for that movie. When do you plan to release the review for it? I need to watch it, and I really don't want to. I think because of scheduling, I think there might be 2 people scheduled for Friday Night Lights this week. I may not be on FNT. And so if that's the case, then my obligation to watch the film is not going to be as important. So I might end up just saying I'm not doing it. Because I try not to go purposefully to see bad movies. The only times I tend to these days are when it's homework for FNT, because I don't want to purposefully waste my time, unless I think it's going to be like a so bad it's funny or a so bad it's fun experience. Madam Web just seems like a movie where I'm going to be like, this is such a waste of my time. Let's see. Mo says, the mustard is still in the back of my G&G poster. It's never coming off. I'm never going to wash this hand. Steven says, your thoughts on the Deadpool 3 trailer, especially the Disney joke. I liked it. I've not seen it more than once, so I don't think I picked up every single joke and every single comment. I know that there were some jokes made at Disney's expense, for sure. But to me, it honestly felt like it was still within enough of Disney's control to still be approved by them, essentially. I want him to throw bombs. Like, I want him to throw Molotov cocktails at Disney. That's the only way that you can really make any of that work, to make anyone buy that the film is not just trying to be... Speaking of psyops, right? Is not just trying to be a psyop for Disney trying to reboot their universe using Deadpool into the good graces that the Deadpool franchise still has with fans. Like, the only reason why Deadpool can conceivably make money is not because anything to do with Disney, but because of Ryan Reynolds and because of what they have done to earn the trust of fans and to be able to consistently give fans a lot of what they want. But I'll be honest, right? Deadpool 2 is not as good as Deadpool 1, not even close. It's fun for sure. A lot of fun to be had, but Deadpool 1 is still so much better than Deadpool 2. So, again, I think it'll be interesting to see what they do. Hardwick says, how big was that mustard packet? The ones I'm familiar with only hold an ounce or two. That's the thing. It was incredibly small. And yet, again, because of the pressure, it wasn't like, again, it's not like we were doused in mustard, right? It wasn't like it was like creamed all over. No, it was rather that because of how it exploded, it was really like just dots, like everywhere. So it doesn't have to be a lot. If it gets spread out enough, doesn't matter. Zendo Deb, Mustard Con. Exactly. Ambrose Chamberbot says, covered in mustard. Hate when that happens. King Rupsky says, so you're saying Echo attacked you with mustard? Yes, that's exactly what I said, and I demand justice. Mustard bomb! Print screen. Rob D. That's a but Odin. What kind of mustard? Yellow? Spicy? Brown? Dijon? Honey mustard? This stuff matters. I believe it was yellow mustard. You're speaking to someone that also doesn't really like mustard. I don't put it on anything. The only time I've ever eaten mustard is when you order something from a fast food restaurant and you ask for it. I'm the kind of person, I love it plain. And then they forget about it. And then you're just like, ugh. I just don't even want to go through the process of using a napkin to wipe it all off. Even when you do, you still taste it. That's like the only time I've ever had mustard. So it's just not it's not the condiment of choice for me. But I believe the one that attacked us, I believe, was yellow. Scott McKenzie, mustard is tough to get out of clothes. Yeah, I mean, I was lucky to be wearing darker clothes, so I don't think it was as big of a problem for me. But I know Blaine, I think about 30 minutes to an hour after that happened, he was like, all right, I got to go. I got to change. Steven, what was the best non-trailer Super Bowl commercial? For me, it was Michael Cera Lotion. I didn't watch it. As I said, I didn't watch Super Bowl. I didn't watch any of the commercials. I only watched some of the trailers. And I guess we've been talking a little bit about that tonight. But let me go ahead and just jump over because I know that got about 25 minutes or so, and I want to make sure to talk about some of these things. So shout out to geeksandgamers.com. By the way, if you don't know, I am a writer now for geeksandgamers.com. Have been writing now for a few weeks, almost a month it seems over there. Shout out to Alex. He's been the guru over there helping me get articles posted. But he has a great resource. So again, geeksandgamers.com. It's non-Deadpool Super Bowl trailer. I think that's such a brilliant way of doing it because obviously everyone's focused on Deadpool, and for good reason. But I'll go through this list and just tell you my thoughts about the ones that I have seen and just in general what I thought about it. So first, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I saw this trailer. I will say a couple things. One, I'll have to say a positive. The visual effects in this film for the trailer look really, really good. If there's one thing this franchise has been able to do, it's been able to continue to innovate in visual effects. I remember being blown away by the work Andy Serkis did within the Caesar trilogy that he was a part of. Every film, it just got better and better. This one honestly just feels like it's the pinnacle, right? It's showing you how much they have really tuned and fine-tuned their effects to make it look very real and authentic. That being said, I'm really not interested in this movie. And it all comes down to the fact that the Caesar trilogy, I think, was a perfect self-contained trilogy, right, of this revamping of the Planet of the Apes franchise. I think it would have been better for them to take a little bit more time off. I don't think they needed to put any more films out there. So King of the Planet of the Apes, I thought, again, visual effects look stunning, but I'm just kind of tired of the films now. I don't think that there needs to be another one. As far as what I think the box office will be, it's hard to say because a lot of things, especially big franchises, really aren't doing a whole lot these days. It's always kind of hard to tell. And this is ultimately a 20th Century Studios production. That means it's a Disney production. So, a lot of money was put into it. Not a guarantee that money will get, gotten back out of it. Of all of the Fox properties, it probably has the better chance of making money. But anyway, The Fall Guy, I've not seen the most recent trailer, but having seen the previous, the first trailer that came out, I do still have some interest in this. It just looks like it's fun. I did watch Twisters. Oh my gosh. Okay. So big fan of the original Twister, OG Twister. I still remember going to Universal and there was the, quote, Twister ride. It wasn't really a ride. You went into this room and then you quote, experience what a tornado was like. So a lot of wind was blowing. Again, not a whole lot of wind, but a little bit of wind. And then the top of the roof that you're under goes up and crashes down. And you see buildings, fire, like all this stuff. It was fun, though, because I was like, okay, I like Twister. I think it's a lot of fun. Oh, my gosh, why? Why would you make... Is this a sequel? Is it a remake? I'm sure someone knows, but it's like, no. Of all the films to make, to remake, to reboot, to sequel, whatever you want to call it, I will say I did laugh, though, because when the poster or when the title of the movie is being posted, and then all of a sudden you're just waiting for them to add the S, that made me laugh. And it's like, this is not a movie I should be laughing at. That's not how the film seems to be playing off. Oh, gosh. Okay. Wicked. Anyone that knows me, I am a musical theater guy. All right. I grew up doing theater, did theater for over 20 years, have been in the chorus, have been a leading role. It's something that is a passion of mine. I also happen to be a big fan of the Broadway version of Wicked. I've seen it multiple times. This is a movie that I already knew was probably going to suck because this film has been in pre-production for, 20 years or so? It's been a really long time. It's like 15, 20 years. And it's been in pre-production so long that when they were originally thinking about making this into a movie, they were talking about using Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, the original leads of the musical on Broadway, in the movie. That's how long this thing has been talked about. So now they've finally, cast the film, and the first thing that I noticed, the first thing that makes my mind immediately go like, danger, danger. What the hell did Ariana Grande do to her face? And I mean that with all sincerity. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be funny. What the hell did she do? I think I've talked about this before, that she's gotten work done, but she's here playing Glinda the Good. She is someone she's a beautiful young woman. And has been, right? But somehow when she decided to jump into the whole pop music crap fest, her singing has changed. Because she's not as great of a singer as she used to be. She used to be Broadway caliber singer. But now she's fallen so much into being this pop star. That's what she's made her voice into. So it just doesn't sound as good. And then she's just messed up her face. And it's like, oh my gosh, why would you do that to yourself? So that was just breaking my heart, the entire trailer. And then add on to that terrible CGI, clear green screen, just overly done. You do have, I think, Jeff Goldblum is the wizard, which is okay. That could be fun. But it's like, okay, this is like 10 years too late at this point. And I just don't think, knowing how long it took for them to make this movie, I just don't see how it could be good. Let's see. Never saw If. I didn't see that one, but this is John Krasinski. So the fact that, let's see right here. This is the comments from Alex. He says, "This is not for me, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a kid's movie, and that's fine. But the gag about Randall Park pretending to be John Krasinski doesn't land, and Ryan Reynolds looks like he's mugging for the camera more than anything else. All Right Now was the best part." Yeah, so again, I haven't seen that trailer myself, but I know it's a John Krasinski film. Ryan Reynolds apparently is attached to the film, and so I think he's the voice of the imaginary character, imaginary friend, which is what IF stands for. But yeah. I have some hope for that just because of John Krasinski, but I have not seen the trailer. Didn't watch the trailer for Kung Fu Panda 4. I guess that's like, I don't care. Why are you making a fourth one? What is this nonsense? Haven't seen Inside Out 2's trailer, but something tells me that I really hope that there's not some insinuations, as some people have speculated. Despicable Me 4, never been interested in this franchise. Why? I know it's making money. I know it makes money. I know why, okay? But still, why? A Quiet Place Day 1. This looks good. This looks fun. I'm a big fan of A Quiet Place. I love part 1 and part 2. The fact that now it's out of the hands of John Krasinski, in the hands of someone else. I always love when universes are established and then picked up by other creators. I mentioned this previously about how The Continental was picked up by other creators outside of the John Wick franchise. making a story within the John Wick universe. So I think A Quiet Place Day 1 could be very fun. Didn't see the trailer for Monkey Man, but I've heard some things about it. And then, let's see, Duncan runs... The final movie ad is another 30-second spot for Monkey Man. Okay, so he just added these last ones there. Never saw any of the Duncans. I heard the Duncans were the funniest ones, but with the people involved, I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let's see. Keely Chow says, I like to call Death to Smoochie the unofficial sequel to Mrs. Doubtfire. That has a lot of implications to it. Jeremy Zakowski, I don't understand. Would anyone be excited for Wicked Part 1? The trailer didn't look at all impressing. I agree. And then you add to that the actress who's playing Elphaba, right, the Wicked Witch, and she's hitting the notes that are iconic in the show. My wife even made this comment saying, why would you change some of the most iconic notes in the entire show? And she does. She makes it her own. And I try to explain it saying, well, that's actually been something that a lot of the subsequent Elphabas have been doing on Broadway too. They all have their own different takes on songs. Most of them stay true to those notes specifically. They change other parts of songs, like go for higher notes and other things. But my issue with it was that she's screaming. It sounds like she's screaming at that part. And it's like, no, that's not. It's a belt. It's supposed to be her belting the song, not screaming it. So that was where I was like, okay, I don't know how she's going to work as Elphaba. Let's see. Hardwick had to say, if you like the book Dune, you might like John Carter of Mars, books by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Yeah, I've obviously seen the Disney film. Not as bad as it would seem based on how much money it lost. King Rumsky says, I heard a Super Bowl ad diss Jesus. It wouldn't have surprised me. I think I heard someone mention something about some nonsense, but I honestly haven't seen it, so I can't say. Cthulhu says, our current president says he's Catholic. Proclamations mean nothing. Action means everything. Oh, I agree. And honestly, my frustration with Joe Biden has more to do with his bishop. The fact that his bishop, and the bishop of D.C. especially, has not done anything is atrocious. It's scandalous. It is the sin of scandal. Because when you don't censure or excommunicate someone, and I know that this sounds like harsh terms, and if you're not Catholic, you're like, oh boy, here he goes again. But think about it. Excommunication is not just supposed to be a punishment. It's supposed to be a wake-up call. It's supposed to be, yes, you can no longer receive the sacraments until you publicly repent. So guess what? You can come back. It's easy to come back, but you have to be able to admit you have supported and endorsed child murder, right? In the case of Joe Biden, amongst other things, in the case of him too. But like that's the thing that gets me. It's actually more so the bishops refusing to act than anything else. Force of Light Entertainment. What's going on, Michelle? Shout out to Michelle, Force of Light Entertainment. If you've not watched the episodes that Michelle and I and Carrie Smith from D Program with Carrie Smith and Brahma and others, it is such a fun time. It's all featured on Carrie Smith's channel, Carrie Smith Deprogrammed with Carrie Smith, and we do a Christian panel, and it's just so much fun. And it's fun planning out every episode, and we've had some really good conversations. Our most recent one was actually about the evils of pornography, and so very controversial subject, but I think a very important one too. All right. Keely Chow says, JFK was more of a Catholic than our current president. It's kind of amazing because even JFK was getting criticized for his quote-unquote Catholicism too. So, yeah. Let's see. Force of Light. Michelle says, I will be at Knoxville Con. So will Jay and Carrie Smith. Okay. All right. I think I saw it looked like Gina Carano was going to be there. So, okay. Makes sense that Jay would be there because I know that he helps her at a lot of these cons. But Carrie Smith being there, you being there, okay. Might have to make it a little mini event of it. Again, unfortunately, I don't think any of the other Geeks and Gamers and FNT people, and again, when you're committing to the cons that they are committing to, anything more is going to be crazy. But since I know I cannot do Vegas, and Dallas is going to be up in the air no matter what, Knoxville at the very least would be something I could perceivably do because I'd only be gone for a day. So, and it being in July is something that we could probably work out. Good to know. I'll have to make note of that. Thank you, Michelle. Shout out to Michelle. Rob D says, I sacrificed 2 hours of my time to watch Thor Love and Thunder for the Ravens. I will be willing to do the same for the Marvels because I love the Ravens. Well, Rob D, I appreciate your dedication. Oh my gosh, I need to get on getting the Discord server screenings going. The one that I'm waiting on, and I know it's coming out soon on PVOD, is the Iron Claw. That's the one I really want to stream a lot because it's a movie I think people need to see. It's not getting enough love. Anyway, Gary Banjo Sandwich Withington says, TVA, boo. Agreed. All right, what do you think the chances are that the TVA will be handled in a way that will work for people who haven't seen Loki? The chances of them actually doing something that helps the fans figure out what they've not been watching? Doubtful. They'll give them enough to understand, maybe. But that ultimately will come down to the writers specifically of Deadpool and not so much the Disney influence. By the way, I saw this man come in the chat. The Flick Pick, John, buddy, what is going on? Let's see if I can get to his chat and highlight that real quick. Shout out to the Flick Pick. What's going on, brother? It says, Monkey Man looks like John Wick meets V for Vendetta. What's new, Odin? What's up, brother? Thank you very much for stopping by. Send me a text. We need to catch up. We need to catch up soon. Shout out to you, good sir. Love my Flick Pick brother. Okay, yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of connections being made to John Wick, so that's why it's definitely on my radar of things to look into. But I'll have to check it out, man. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. All right, Master of Gaming at 814 says, what is your favorite Super Bowl trailer, and what is your least favorite Super Bowl trailer? So I kind of went through those already, so thank you for that member chat. Thank you for being a member for 4 months in a row. Good, sir. All right, getting close to the end here, about 10 minutes left. Says, Kitty Chow, TVA to me stands for Tennessee Valley Authority. Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely. As someone who has seen that sign for the TVA several times in my time up here in Tennessee, yeah, every time I drive by it now, I'm reminded of that show. And I cry a little bit and die a little bit inside. Darn you, Loki. Speaking of that, Laura, the Modern Major General, says, Season 2 was much better. I do agree there. The only thing about Season 2, though, that was worth anything was Obi. Was the character of Obi. And it was because I just love that actor so much. I think that he is just so fun. He's that actor where you just want to like put him in your pocket and just be like at any time, all right, I just need to have a good honest, positive conversation, you know? It's like, you know how they have that timeline cleanse? I feel like he is that, you know, what's his name? Key. I'm blanking on his name right now. I used to know it at the top of my head. But he honestly is like the walking timeline cleanse. That's the best way to describe him. The character of Obi absolutely redeems a very small part of the season. See, Rob D says, I would die laughing at Deadpool 3 started with Deadpool saying, don't worry, guys, I suffered with you. I was forced to watch She-Hulk twerk her CGI butt. Yep. If he starts throwing bombs, if Deadpool starts throwing bombs, trashing the entire MCU, trashing especially the Disney Plus shows, that will be worth it. Master Gaming says, Odin this year's Super Bowl. Okay. Force of Light Entertainment says, very true. JJ52 says, why did you choose the name Odin? What do you think about the MCU's Odin? I love Anthony Hopkins. I thought he was great in that role. I thought that it was really cool to see. So I mentioned this story before a long time ago, and I obviously will bring it up every time since. It was a nickname I was given when I was in high school. And it's because in New Orleans, it didn't get cold very often, but when it did, it would get into like the 30s, 40s. But I love the cold so much, I would never wear sweatshirts. I was just like, I just love this weather so much. So I'm just standing out there. Everyone else is like, I'm so cold. I'm from New Orleans. I can't take the cold. And they're in their sweatshirts and everything. And so one of my friends started calling me Odin. And he's like, oh, okay, Odin. Right? He's like, oh, how are you not cold? Oh, okay, you must be some Norse guy or something. Fine, Odin. So he started calling me that, and it just kind of stuck. Let's see. Cthulhu says, my team lost because the lizard people are backing Taylor Swift boyfriend's team. JJ52 says, Odin deserves more subscribers. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. It's a fun time. I like, again, I could do the grind. I could do I need to build up all my numbers and everything. But it's just, again, I do it where it's fun. So if my subscribers go up, that's awesome. They've been going down recently. That's fine too. The fact that I have dedicated people that I can talk to during streams, that's like as long as I have that, I'm okay. So thank you guys for being here, allowing me to not ever become a person that just is talking to himself for an hour and a half, because that would be bad. 36 people on YouTube still watching. Thank y'all. See, Keely Chow, is it time to do some Steiner math? I don't think I have the time to do the Steiner math tonight. Me and my monkey. Okay. Thanks for all the work you do. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Michael Burgett says, I just saw the Fathom Events is picking up a new indie film called Man and Witch to release this summer. Has an interesting cast. You should look it up. Okay. Yes, first I'm hearing about it. Shen Hong over on Rumble says, is Mad Cow Web Sony or Marvel? Mad Cow Web. So if it is anything related to the Spider-Verse, it's Sony. I don't know much about Mad Cow Web. I am not a comics person, but it sounds like something spidery because of the web part. If that's the case, I believe Sony has the rights then. Specifically to the film. I think it's film and TV. There's a very specific, it's such a crazy thing when you think about it, because Universal, right, has the rights to certain characters for like rides and stuff. That's why there's still the Incredible Hulk ride. There's like the whole Marvel like land, right? Isle of Adventure, all the Marvel themes for the rides. So they have certain rights that they have access to, or they've at least rented. I don't know the full explanation. Sony then has rights to films specifically for Spider-Man comics. Like I think that includes all. That's why, Morbius was Sony. You obviously have the Spider-Man films, of course, all come directly from Sony as well. Madam Web being Sony. I think I already mentioned Morbius, Venom also to Sony. So it would be depending on that. Let's see. Kitty Chow, if you were able to make it to Vegas, I can picture you trying to get some. No, I probably would I wouldn't, because again, there would be so much stuff going on. I would be trying to keep my head on straight. Like, just honestly, to not freak out because of just the amount of people. Because I feel like there's already so many people in Vegas. You add on top of that everything else. See, Popcorn Cobra, what's up, Popcorn Cobra, says, I recently created a YouTube for movie and TV show reviews. What would your advice on growth on YouTube be? I'm one of the worst persons to ask about that, because growth is honestly not one of the things that I focus on, just, again, because I do it for fun. But I know that consistency is key. Find your lane and stick with it. So if you're going to focus on movie and TV, focus on movie and TV. Don't try to delve into other areas, because otherwise your algorithm will never get picked. You'll never get picked up in the algorithm. But be consistent too. So whether it's short form or long form, it depends on the month, because YouTube's changing things all the time. It used to be that if you had a video that was 10 minutes or longer, you got prime access. For a time, it was if you had less than 10 minutes, it was prime. It is so infuriating. So what I would say is stick to your lane, find out what it is that you want to talk about, and then make sure that you're consistent. Because that's how you can guarantee growth. Whether it's exponential growth, can't guarantee that. But people do appreciate just consistency. Kelly Chaz, what would you do if FNT officially becomes Friday Morning Tights in a couple of years from now? If it ever becomes Friday Morning Tights, guess what? I can't do the show because I work full time. I would only be able to do summers. My hope amongst hope, and obviously it's tricky because we have at least one person who we've changed the entire time for because of it being middle of the night for them in the UK. But I would love for it to go back to a later start, because if the show started at 7, I could be on from start to finish. The only reason why I can't be on from start to finish is not because I can't go stream for a long time. It's because it's at the worst time. Because at 4 Eastern time, I'm just getting home from work. So I have about a 45-minute window before the kids need to be picked up. So I've just recently, because of both kids now being at daycare, been able to figure out how I take care of drop-off in the morning. My wife then does pickup. which then allows me to be on for an hour and a half without any interruptions. But then they get back by about 5:30, and guess what? 3-year-old and 4-month-old, it's not fair for my wife to have to handle all that when she gets back. And so that's when I start to become more, back and forth with it. And the only length of time I feel comfortable, leaving her alone without any help is going to be that 30 minutes between 5:30 and 6. And after that, it's like I wouldn't feel comfortable, because I think that if we could ever guarantee, and this is always a trick when you're dealing with a boomer who's running it, right? If we could ever get it to be a full 3, like literally a perfect start, 4 p.m. we start. That's our start point no matter what. If we're 10 minutes late, 4 p.m. is still that time. So we end right at 7. I might be able to actually work that out to be on the whole time. But because it's 3 hours and 20 minutes, 3 hours and 40 minutes, it's a lot harder to make that kind of commitment because of family. Michael Reget says, I'm not planning on seeing Madam Web to the review this weekend. Planning on seeing Bob Marley film and the Russell Crowe, Liam Hemsworth film Land of Bad. Interesting. Or Sci-Fi As said today that he may be obligated to see it, but that doesn't prevent him from walking out of the theater. Yep, he's done that before. He has done that before. He's also not seen movies before, too. The R hates Deadpool 2. If Reynolds roasts Disney in a Cartman voice, I'll throw them my money. I don't blame you. All right. Let's see. Keely Chow says, this confirms that Odin is still a member of Geeks and Gamers. It does. It does. Orange Hat. The Planet of the Apes was always going to be rebooted to a degree. Expect more movies after Kingdom. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's clear they're setting up the next set of films. For me, I'm kind of over it. They need to take a break. Amber Chamberpot says, Twisters, we've already had the Sharknadoes. This is true. Rob D, I hope Twisters gets like an 8K physical media release to call back to Twister being the first film available on DVD, if I remember right. Is that true? Wow. Kiki and Rumsky, is Jason Statham going to be in Twisters? Good gracious, I hope not. Hardwick, the same thing that happened with Wicked happened with Last Voyage of the Demeter. It was in development since 2003. At one point, Viggo Mortensen was going to star. Dang. And again, makes sense why it apparently did not hold up. Let's see, Hardwick says, speaking of actresses botching their faces, did you ever notice how Erin Moriarty, best known for The Boys, looks now? It's tragic she got mad when Megyn Kelly did a news segment. Yeah, she claims that she didn't. She claims that it was something else, but no, like you look at her face and you can tell she's gotten work done. And it's always sad, right? It's sad when anyone does it for any reason, right? Unless you have gotten into an accident. Like plastic surgery was invented to help people who were in accidents that needed to have their faces reconstructed. It was not meant to be, oh, I'm getting older and I need to look younger. And it's always sad when people do that because, for one, it's someone denying the fact that they're aging, and this is something that we all have to go through. We can never stop it no matter what we do. And in many ways, it's a slap in the face to the divine image that they've been created as, because them trying to have control over it. And honestly, I think there are some people where I think it's partially mental illness, right? Because again, think about it. What's going on? They're looking at themselves and they're seeing something that is not actually there. What else does that sound like? Other mental illnesses that we know about, right? And so I think that there's a part of that. And so that's why it honestly is sad. Will Riker 94 says, wow, see y'all later. Oh. The R says, I hear Bishop Gregory had stepped up trying to change traditions even more than usual. Yeah, I mean, he has been one of the worst persons, honestly, when it comes to the Latin Mass, when it comes to traditional Catholicism, for sure. Michael Regat, Iron Claw is out on PVOD today. Ooh, okay. I knew it was soon. Tuesdays tend to be the day. All right, I'm going to have to look for that later and then try to see if we can get access to it. Would love to be able to do some stream parties with that. Some watch parties with that, I should say. Rob D, regarding Ariana Grande's face changing, I share similar thoughts with Ellen Page. Why did she do what she did to herself? She was pretty, in my opinion. No, I mean, there's a lot more issue going on there for sure, but mental illness. Go back to right to what I said before. Kimberly G, good night to you. JJ, no problem. No problem. Hardwick, Mad Cow Web is a nickname for Madam Web. Ah, okay. Yeah, then that is Sony. Interestingly enough, though, I believe if you look to the production companies, Marvel, I think, actually put up some money. I think they were listed as a production company, not just as a... they're obviously not the distributor. So I think back to how they usually don't put up a lot. Like for Spider-Man, for instance, they only put up, I think, 25% of the budget for No Way Home. And so they only got 25% of the returns. So I wonder did they put 25% of the budget up for Madam Web? I don't know. Let's see. Orange Chat says, gotta go get to the Barroom podcast. Yeah, I'm about to head up myself. Plastic surgery never ages well. Madonna looks like Nightmare Fuel. Oh my gosh. Seriously. It's awful. I doubt Erin Moriarty had plastic surgery to look younger. It looks like she had buccal fat removal, which makes one look older. It looks like Anya Taylor-Joy and Palm Clemency did too. Oh, well, that just makes me upset because that might be what it looks like, but no, like you can tell, like there's something unnatural about the way they look. So again, I'm not an expert on it. All I can say is from what it looks like, and it just does not look good. Matt317, what's going on, brother? Been a while. Says, I see Madam Web, and all I can think of is the nerd crew from TLM now. Nice. The R, God bless you. That's going to be it for me tonight, everybody. I do need to head out. One of the last nights that I can enjoy ice cream as we are about to enter into the season of Lent. So I hope everyone has had a blessed Shrove Tuesday. Let this be, obviously, a time for us to be able to try to start to enter into this incredibly holy season of the year. And so remember, whether you're Catholic or not, because I know many people who watch me, most people who watch me, in fact, are not Catholic. Lent is a time that anyone can partake in. It's something that all of us can do. And I think just finding some small thing to sacrifice is a very good thing. Whether it be saying, you know what, I'm just going to give up sweets for this period of Lent. I'm going to give up soft drinks for this period of Lent. I'm going to start to work out a bit more, right? Those are very small things, right? But if that's kind of where you are, obviously you do what you can handle and try to build up from there. Rob D reminding me, of course, yep, it'll be the last time for ice cream. Oh, I can't even sing because I'm getting so tired vocally. Still tired. Still haven't fully found my rest there. But luckily, tea has been doing wonders so far. But anyway, thank you all again for watching. This has been fun as always. Make sure you smash the like button, light the fire button, obviously smash the rumble button as well. I love you guys so very much. Starting next week, we'll be in the season of Lent. So we'll, of course, be catching up with each other, seeing how we're all doing our Lenten check-ins as we have done in years past, and look forward to doing again. So you guys seriously are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And as always, God bless. And now for a very special shout out to all of my February Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off with my Patreon supporters of Father Luca Illich, Rosetta Ellen, check out her YouTube channel, Eagle Rider, and Miss Martin Muses, check out her YouTube channel by the same name. Also to my Subscribe Star peeps, Matt317, check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Mr. Roy, and ZK-Man, check him out over at xtheboundaries.co. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link in the video description below where you can access things like podcast episodes that I do special for my members. I also do, of course, the verbal shoutouts, also the listed shoutouts, and a bunch of other things, including giveaways, access to a giveaways channel on my Discord, giving away Blu-rays and 4Ks. I've fallen behind a little bit, but I'm going to easily make that up for the month of February, so now is a great time to join to get access to that page. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day. A blessed Lent, which starts in just a couple of days. And as always, God bless.